There's a misconception of the Prophet Muhammad was interested only in changing the morals and the characters of individuals. His whole life, he said that his uncle Abu Talib was not to make him eat with the right hand, but to use the rest of his left hand. He started making the exception time, he was in his deathbed.
That's right.
As a Muslim. So what I'm saying is that we talk a lot. We get bored and sick and sometimes not just like alhamdulillah. But I'm saying that we talk about living in Christian society, how we should live here, how we should live here. The Prophet Muhammad, his main focus was to change society, not to change individuals. This was his focus. And either we're going to change society or we're going to be content with living in Jahiliyyah. And we shouldn't want to live in Jahiliyyah.
Yeah, we mentioned this last night when we talked about making Muslim communities. I said, firstly, in my humble opinion, after looking at all the verses and all the hadiths about Hijrah, I think we should make Hijrah. But if we're not going to do that, then we should definitely have some area where we're going to change that area and start from a small area and go abroad in this country. Where can we go inside the United States?
I never heard one of your things. And you said yourself that every single Muslim dominated or highly populated, it's no Islamic country. And every single one is in Jahiliyyah. We in Jahiliyyah. We have to change this Jahiliyyah. And start at a time. We have to do this. Not necessarily make it America the Islamic state and make that country. It has to come somewhere. We have to start this Islam somewhere. We have to serve the material power. We have to develop an army. Someone who can protect us out. Right now, if my wife don't want to wear the hijab, I can divorce her. But no Muslim sister in America and any other society has to wear the hijab. The society countries that enforce that aspect of Islam, but that's not total Islam. But I'm saying that there's nowhere. Let's just deal with America. No Muslim sister has to wear the thing on. None of them. We can't make it. No Muslim brother has to put down the country because we can't make it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Qur'an, do not marry your women. He don't say brother don't marry your sister, uncle don't marry your niece, a man don't marry your daughter. He says do not marry your women to kuffar. Muslim women are marrying kuffar. And we can't do nothing about it. So we are in sin right now. It's our duty to prevent that. Now how do we stop that? Either we change society or we live in a Christian society and we die in that area. The person I'm tired of being in that area.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Well, one of the ways we definitely can do it, and the end result of it is going to definitely be Khilafah, for sure. It's definitely going to be one of the, that's the final result. We're going to have that. One of the ways we can do it is start with our homes, because there's anarchy even in our homes. And Allah knows best. Naam. Last night, yes, for those who weren't there, we mentioned last night about standing next to each other in salat and putting our foot next to the person on the right and the left of us.
And we should live our life with life and living in the salat. So, also there is a hadith that when companion and power of that time, they used to see together, they used to see so close to each other, and we used to do the time very close.
That's right.
So, my point is that with your knowledge, you should maybe combine all the hadiths and put up the different together. Another is give the microphone, or use the microphone, which is very ridiculous sometimes. We have five
somebody speak, stop it here.
We have 5 people in the audience, and in a big one like that, the one is and that's the type of people, using microphone. And what happens that when they use microphone, somebody sits in one corner, another person sits in another corner, and they complain about that hadith, and notice that using that technology, sometimes you have to be very careful. And so that you use the progress. Coming in our hadith, something forgetting our sunnah, we are using something different and using that role, using microphone, making it louder, doing what better. Or using radio or television as presenting that, say to more people to work better. But we don't think that the free match is free. I mean, we have to be working on our
Inshallah.
So what's your opinion about that?
I don't have too many opinions. My opinions are not worth too much. I try to stick as close as I can to the Qur'an and the Sunnah, and you're absolutely right. We should learn how to sit together. These seemingly small things that we mentioned last night, some of these things seem small, but they're actually very, very major things that help develop the Muslim so that we can gain those things that the brother just mentioned. You see? So, Allah Musta'an, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for His assistance and His aid. Naam. Yes.
Unfortunately, most of the time, having to have to make dollars going from next week, but they happen to buy a couple of months. Most of the time, let's say you're married, you cannot get socialized because they say that they have no relationship with each other after you decide to, I'd like to
where can we start with whom? With Muslims? I mean, basically we can visit. We can visit. We can. We try with all our level best to associate with those Muslims. Visiting is a very important aspect of Islam. You coming to my house, me coming to your house, so that we can get to know each other. And this is one of the benefits of Jum'ah. Just on the tail of what the brother just said about Jahiliyyah, my 2-cent understanding of Qur'an and Sunnah and the way the companions understood it and practiced it, I think that we're at least making a major mistake, or at most we're in sin by having all these Jum'ahs. We should have one main masjid to make Jum'ah, and this is the means of one of the benefits is Muslims getting to know each other. Ta'aruf. It's getting to know each other. But we have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different Jum'ahs going on in the same city, where the distance is not that great from each other. We should close down these masjids on Jum'ah at least, and have one main Jum'ah, and Muslims should spend time getting to know each other. Right? And then, visitation and things like this, having the aqiqahs. Sometimes certain people go to an aqiqah. No, it's an open invitation. All of you are invited to my aqiqah. You see? All of you are invited to the walima. And yes, Muslims they are in need of da'wah. We are in need of da'wah because Muslims have strayed away from the correct belief and methodology of our rightly guided predecessors. But other than that, I can't think of anything other than associating with ourselves in the masjid and getting each other's telephone numbers, visiting each other regularly. I can't think of anything else that would be a better foundation than that, and Allah knows best. You were going to say something else? No. Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Making dawah to the non-Muslims, is it true that the Prophet was more successful and more non-Muslims experienced Islam after the establishment of the state? Like I was told that at the time of Mecca, which was 13 years span, when he was in Mecca, the Prophet, that between 70 and 100 people accepted Islam. But after the establishment of the Islamic State in Medina, there were tribes and nations coming into Islam.
Alhamdulillah.
So do you think trying to establish Islam in a land will be more successful in bringing in more people into Islam than just trying to do it on an individual basis?
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us the formula for having the khilafah in the Qur'an. And there are some things, like we mentioned last night, that we're not establishing in our daily lives as Muslims, just like the men not putting their foot next to each other and coming to the masjid. These are direct results of us not having khilafah. And so I don't think anyone could deny the fact that before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us victory and let us have the khilafah, that there were some basic fundamentals that were put in place first, that we're not doing. So once again, I think that we're putting the cart before the horse. When we talk about khilafah, and you can't even come to the masjid for Fajr, you live 5 blocks away, don't come to me talking about khilafah. I mean you understood.
One of the things that Muslims need to know is the position that Allah has with us, that He is our creator, but also He is our ruler. He's the one that makes our laws. And that He's the only one that we should worship, fear, and obey.
Absolutely.
I mean, sometimes, Muslims in their heart, they just believe like, Well, Allah created man, that's as far as it goes, but yet it's much deeper than that.
Absolutely.
In the Qur'an, Allah says, He's the only one that has the right to command.
Absolutely.
The law that He has given us must be obeyed. Alhamdulillah. Otherwise, it would be a big chaos, right?
Absolutely. But again, there's some other fundamentals that we need to have, and we will, as a direct result, receive the Khilafah without almost any effort whatsoever if we establish those things. Let me give you an example. How many Muslims here understand the concept of the human being being the Khalifa of Allah? Can someone explain that? Let me ask it a different way. Where is the expression Khalifatullah used? I want to be fair. Where in the Qur'an or the authentic Sunnah is the word Khalifatullah used? That's it. The human being is Khalifa of Allah. Anybody know? No, I mean the actual statement, the Khalifa of Allah. The actual statement, Khalifatullah. Human being is Khalifatullah. The actual statement. Huh? There is no place. There is no place. In fact, anyone who believes that the human being is the Khalifa of Allah, this shows a deficiency in their Aqidah. Now how can I follow someone who says that we need to have Khilafah, the Islamic State, and they believe that the human being is the Khalifa of Allah? This is a deficiency in their Aqidah. I can't follow somebody like that and with them talking about Khilafah or anything else if they don't understand that human being cannot be the Khalifa of Allah. This is a deficiency in belief. Why? Why? It's because when you say that the human being is the Khalifa of Allah, you're saying one of two things. Either number one, you're saying that Allah is dead, subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah is dead, because the Khalifa is the one who takes the place of somebody who died. Or number two, you're saying Allah is absent, غير موجود, which is also shirk and kufr, because Allah is never absent. You see? There's no such expression in the Qur'an or any authentic hadith that the human being is Khalifatullah. The word Khalifatullah, the word Khalifa, that the human being is Khalifa, as Ibn Kathir says, means Jeel ba'da Jeel, wa Qarn ba'da Qarn, generation after generation. It's talking about the human being. There's no such thing as Allah's representative on earth. This is kufr and shirk. No such thing. But a lot of the people, once again, because we put the cart before the horse, when 13 years of the Messenger of Allah's mission was Tawheed, because we're not establishing those basic fundamentals of our deen, like Aqidah, like belief, Allah doesn't give us Khilafah. He doesn't give it to us. You see, we're talking about having Islamic communities, establishing the Khilafah, and we have Muslims who believe that they can wear wigs. Women can wear wigs. We have Muslims who believe in Scorpio and Cancer and Pisces. You see? So we have to be really careful not to put that cart before the horse. Once you establish your ibadah, as the scholars of Islam say, they say, أقيمت الدولة الإسلامية في قلوبكم سقم لكم في أرضكم. Establish the Islamic State in your heart first, and it will be established for you in the land. Establish it in your heart first, you see. But what we do is, we put the cart before the horse. We go out and trying to establish Khilafah when I can't even tell that you're a Muslim from your outward appearance. I can't even tell. You see? I can't even tell. I mean, how do you look like a Jehovah's Witness. You look like a Mormon. You see, I can't even tell. See, that lets me know that somebody's playing games. See, somebody's playing games, or they're just misguided. Yes. What verse is this?
No, it's not. The verse about the women should wear khimar ala yudihim over their church. Because the verse was real fitting before that women were not wearing it. It's just the same. A lot of Muslims try to make it Najud and Mubah, they try to make it far away. You must understand, we cannot be far in the right. Just type Mubah and Najud. We can't do that.
Absolutely.
These things are opposite.
What's the first of the wajib though?
The first of the wajib? Fear Allah.
No.
You must have the fear of Allah first.
No. You can't. There you go. Don't confuse fear. No, no, it isn't. No. No, not necessarily.
I'm just fishing on that.
Not necessarily. No, you said fear Allah first. And then you changed it to know Allah. And then see, because there's a difference now. And
I think it's the same.
No, it's not the same. For instance, one of the great people of Islam, Fudayl ibn Iyad, he said, من خاف الشيء هرب منه ومن خاف الله هرب إليه. Allahu Akbar. He said, whoever fears a thing runs away from it. Whoever fears Allah runs to it. Alright? So before you can even run to him, you have to know who he is. Can't say that's the same. It's not the same. One springs from the other doesn't spring from the one.
The point I was trying to make is that this thing is wearing the Quran made as far as the concept of not wearing it, playing with it, like anger mind or something like that. Trying to not to play with it. But what I'm saying is that 13 years in Medina, there was not even a man.
There wasn't a...
There was not even a man.
A masjid?
The guy who was a slave to a castle for the reason by purchase. The Prophet knew of this. Abu Bakr was a Muslim. He did not gather his sons together to do Bilal or any other Muslim slave that was under his father. The Muslim women that had to steal stuff like that, died.
Sumayya.
Now we know that the Sahaba and the Prophet I'm saying that this is the actionary type. We use Islam. Islam is so being dangerous. We use it like Tylenol. A headache is small with one Tylenol.
It's a good example.
It's big with two Tylenol. It's how we overdose. But I'm saying that Islam is not to use like in practice all over Islam. People talk about the most Islamic country. What is that? What is that? You say yourself, 1% show, 1% cook,
absolutely.
Alhamdulillah. So I'm saying that we're going to practice this all together. I mean, we got to move. I'm talking about how many being the mouth of the model country, the country of Rasulullah, and whoever speaks out against unjust leaders, the persecuted for us, these are the mouths. Now, do we want to be caught of that, or do we want to be sitting down, rushing out the people off the team, and whoever they're talking about integrating into the system and being buddy with the people, rushing out to make you out of Senegal. I mean, what are we going to do? I'm talking about putting our life, and we got a life not demonstrated for a long time. I'm talking about being serious about it.
I agree with you 100%, but I'm just cautioning the Muslims who have this attitude that I agree with, that we should check our beliefs, because we don't want to rush out and do anything with our beliefs not intact. That's the point I'm trying to make. That first fundamental is the knowledge of Allah, which is our aqidah, which is our tawheed. You see, we don't want to run out into battle with a sincere intention, not turning heels, believing in Capricorn and Scorpio, celebrating our birthdays, let alone the Prophet's birthday. You see, we don't want to do that. Yes, but there's a big difference though. If it came to them, they rejected it. When it comes to us, we want to add on what we're doing. You see? We don't accept it. This is the height of kibr. What is kibr? The Prophet explained it, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rejection of truth and the contempt of others. Rejection of truth and the contempt of others. You see? So, I agree with you 100%. But let's just make sure, especially the men, because we should be training the men to establish those things. And we should be training the women to train their sons to establish those things, and be prepared that there's going to come a day that maybe ethnic cleansing will begin, if it hasn't already begun here, and that we're going to be treated exactly, because a lot of Muslims think that this country is just this lily white, nice country, that's another discussion altogether, but unfortunately, we do have Muslims who think like that. At the same time, we're not trying to incite anyone to blow up the World Trade Building or the Holland Lincoln Tunnel or the FBI building or the Federal Building or the United Nations. We're not talking like that. We're not saying that. Even though, once again, my name was on the list. Right? With Sheikh Omar. Specifically, it's talking about the Sahaba. And in general, it's talking about those people who do what the Sahaba did. The Muslims. Among the Muslims. Yeah, absolutely. 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 Do you love your brother in Islam? Okay, then we have to continue to... Oh, we're not saying that you stop making the da'wah because people don't do what they're supposed to do. I hope that's not the way I'm coming off or appearing. I'm saying that there was a natural progression that led to a result of having khilafah because the Sahaba put in place certain things that we are not doing, and as a direct result, almost effortlessly, the khilafah was established because they did that. For instance, and we don't like to talk about these things because the Prophet ﷺ said, إِذَا ذُكِرَ أَصْحَابِي فَأَمْسِكُوا. When my companions are mentioned, then refrain, meaning those mistakes that they committed. Alright? So no, we know there was some, in other words, when mistakes fighting against each other, things like that. When we... in the beginning says, be careful. These are stories put together for you. Absolutely. For you to not right. Absolutely. But for the other side, let's say that they did. Alright? We were going to refrain from making those statements. But even at the time they were doing it, the fighting between Aisha and Ali radiallahu anhum ajma'een, they still were exchanging hadiths from each other while fighting. They still were marrying each other's daughters to each other while they were fighting. You see? But for us, when we become divided, our hearts are divided. Similar to the kuffar. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, تَحْسَبُهُمْ جَمِيعًا وَقُلُوبُهُمْ شَتَّى. You look at them and you think their hearts are, that they're united, but their hearts are divided. So I'm saying, if we establish those things, for instance, like in our homes, I mentioned this last night, we don't even eat with our families. The father, Abdullah, he goes and he gets on his computer and he eats his food. The wife, Fatima, she goes over there, she eats her food, another plate, she talks on the telephone. The children, they're playing Nintendo or playing with their dolls over there, eating their food. We don't even eat together, which is the order of the Messenger of Allah, whether you can say it's wajib or mandub or not, it's still in order, right? Whether it's wajib, mandub, or whatever, masnoon, whatever. Still, we don't do that. But we expect to go outside of that core of the Islamic state called the family and try to do it on the outside, and we're not even doing it inside. It's anarchy in our home. You see what I'm saying? Absolutely. No, I'm not. Oh God, it would be ludicrous for me to say that they're not Muslims doing it. Does what progression stop? Establishment of what? Be specific. Of what? No, specifically what? Do you mean khilafah? Yes, it does. You can't establish khilafah until you establish those things. No, I'm saying because of you. Oh, no, of course not. Of course not. So to say that putting the proper values would not apply because all others that are doing it the right way. No, what I'm saying is that those individuals who have taken upon themselves to rant and rave about khilafah, and I can't even tell they're Muslim or not, there's something wrong. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that. Me. Something wrong with all of us. Me for allowing them to look like that and them for doing it. And I don't need khilafah to stop them from doing that. I don't need that. I don't need khilafah to do that. You see? I don't need khilafah to tell a woman to put on hijab. I may not be able to force her to do it, but I definitely need to tell her. And we're not even doing that. That's what I'm saying. That's the point I'm saying. Yes. Now, I can't hear you. I don't know if this is a question or... Once again, I don't think that it's in need of any grandiose philosophical statements. It's just the simple establishment of those fundamental things in our lives that some of us are not doing. Maybe we can even say many of us are not doing. Maybe someone wants to say most of us are not doing. I don't have the ability to say that, but I do know that the masses are usually always the ones not doing, and the minority are always the ones who are doing. Usually. Once again, I just try to stay in that main focus. I don't try to deviate from that small loop. Some of us, many of us, are not establishing this thing in our homes personally. In our homes personally. If we were to establish some of those basic fundamental things, like not backbiting, for instance. How is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, do we expect Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us victory over the disbelieving people and establish khilafah and we backbite each other? Do we actually believe that? Do we actually believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to give us victory over the disbelieving people and we can't stand up one time out of a month for tahajjud? We don't fast on Mondays and Thursdays? It's all theoretical, as the brother said. We use Islam, like take one Tylenol, another Tylenol, two, If we establish these things that the Sahaba did, these were individuals who didn't need anesthesia when they were getting operated. They were being operated on. They made salah, some narrations say. They made salah, and that was the anesthesia when they were being cut. If we can reach that level, the khilafah is going to drop out of the sky, almost literally for us. If we can reach that level. But we can't even, I walk by Muslims sometimes, and I said, Assalamu alaikum, I can't even tell if their lips were moving. You see? So there's really some real basic things that we're missing. Very basic things that we're missing. And I don't know if there are any non-Muslims here. I really don't like talking about these things in public unless I'm sure that everybody here is a Muslim. I don't like to talk about these things. But for sure, there's real racism among us. Racism. I'm talking about real racism. I'm talking about like that white Aryan supremacy, that neo-Nazi type racism among Muslims. And you can't deny it. Because I know for a fact I can't marry a Pakistani girl. See, so these are things, we keep skating around these issues and talking about global issues. What about me? What about you and your relationship with me and you? You see? And we talk about khilafah? Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Now, this brother had his hand up. No. ما يسبق ويسبق الدماء
ونحن قال إن نعلم ما لا تعلمون لأن هذا الوقت جعلناكم خلائفة
Right. Right, but that doesn't say that the human being is Khalifatullah. Al-Mudaf wa Mudafun ilayhi. Doesn't say Khalifatullah. And the meaning of this verse from Abdullah ibn Abbas and Abdullah ibn Mas'ud and Abu Musa al-Ash'ari and Ubay bin Ka'ab from the Prophet ﷺ, it means that Khalifa here means Jeel ba'da Jeel wa Qarn ba'da Qarn. Exactly what I said. That doesn't say he's Khalifa of Allah. Allah doesn't have a representative. ليس كمثله شيء وهو السميع البصير. There's nothing like him. How are you going to have a representative? There's nothing like him. How are you going to have somebody representing Allah? Maybe representing Islam, maybe. But not representing his fellow human being, the Muslim, but not Allah. No.
So not vicegerent either?
No, but what is a vicegerent? Look in Roger's International Thesaurus. Look at the word vicegerent.
One who is entrusted with the amana or whatever.
Yeah, but he's not a representative of Allah. Right. He's not taking the place of Allah.
Sure. But one
he's not a na'ib. Vicegerent. He's talking about vicegerent. You know, it's like the vice president or something like that. No. How can we say this? This is shirk. This is shirk.
So how do you translate that particular?
I don't translate anything. I go back to the tafsir and see what the people of the past said. And they say that the Sahaba explained it as generation after generation. People after people. That's the meaning of this word. Khalifa, one who takes the person's place after the next person has died. And they keep taking the place in establishing those things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us to establish, like al-amr bil-ma'ruf wal-nahy 'anil munkar, and joining in the good, forbidding the evil, and those things like this. But as a representative of Allah, no. And there's one hadith that says that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said Khalifatullah, but the isnad, the chain of this hadith is not authentic. I'd like to just say something, and I'm sorry that it was you, but it is the sunnah of the Sahaba, of the Messenger of Allah, not to say Assalamu alaikum when we're sitting in the room like this, and just say Assalamu alaikum wa alaikum salam. The sunnah is that when they left the room they said Assalamu alaikum, and when they came back in they said Assalamu alaikum. But when there's arguments, or Assalamu alaikum, this is not from the sunnah of the Messenger of Allah. These are some of the small things, once again, that we're getting away from, that we think are trivial and insignificant. But innovation, and I'm not saying you commit innovation, but things added to the deen are things that take us to perdition. Now, you're welcome. No, I said establishing the Dawlatul Islam, the Islamic State. Die shaheed on your nafs. First of all, to make jihad in your nafs is a very important thing. We have authentic hadith from the Prophet ﷺ and Muslim. Let me finish, inshallah. Jihad of the nafs, struggling to control and to conquer and to discipline our nafs, is a very important aspect of Islam. Before we attempt to answer what you just said, we'd like to clear something up. In fact, the brother lent me a tape last night. What's your name again, F? Ra'id, Hayahullah wa Iyana. May Allah give him long life and all of us. He lent me a tape last night. Said, just listen to this tape. What do you think about it? It was some sheikh from Damascus, and he was talking about Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, the names of Allah. And I heard him, very beautiful, eloquent speaker, and it was a very nice speech. But there were some things he was saying, and I was going to tell him privately. There were some things he was saying that should not be said, and they should not be attributed to the Messenger of Allah. He mentioned that the Prophet ﷺ said, "Raja'na ila min jihad al-asghar ila jihad al-akbar." Right? We've returned from the story, the hadith. The companions were bleeding and wounded and tired. Some arms, some limbs missing. And the Prophet ﷺ was said to have said, we've returned from the smaller jihad and we're going to the larger jihad. And they looked astonished and they said, jihad of the nafs and of the hawa, or one narration says, this hadith is forged. The worst type of hadith on the hadith list for unauthentic hadith. It's a forged hadith. And none of the scholars disagree on this. None of them, the scholars of hadith. None of them. But there are authentic hadiths about jihad and nafs. And we know that jihad and nafs is very, very important. Very, very important. Now, as far as dying shaheed, the terminology shaheed can't be used for this type of jihad and regarding dying. You can't use this. Because the scholars of Islam say that shahada or martyrdom is of two types. There's jihad hukmiyan and jihad haqiqiyan. The jihad haqiqiyan is that jihad of which you fought on the battlefield. You were wounded. You died on the battlefield. That's the person whose body is not washed and not shrouded. That's the person whose soul is going to be, inshallah, if he had the other requirements and conditions, that's the person whose soul is going to be put in the bellies of green birds and suspended around the throne of Allah. That's the person who is going to be able to intercede for 70 members of his Muslim family. That's the individual who's going to have those felicities in Jannah. As for the person who is wounded on the battlefield, their body is transferred to the clinic, or to the hospital, or the woman who dies giving birth, or the baby who dies inside the woman's womb, or the person who dies of tuberculosis or pleurisy, or the person who dies in a fire, or the Muslim who dies in drowning, or the Muslim who dies the building falling on them. This is shaheed hukmiyan, not haqiqiyan. Their body is washed, their body is shrouded. That's the way we understand the hadith of jihad of nafs. Man jahada ala nafsihi fahuwa mujahid. Whoever makes jihad on his nafs, then he's a mujahid. Doesn't mean now because he does that, if he dies, you don't wash and shroud his body. No. He's not the actual mujahid. He's the virtual mujahid. You see? And of course, this is a process that some of us, it takes years. But some of us, alhamdulillah, have reached that level.
I asked that question because when I talk about the past,
no, but this is a big jihad. Jihad of nafs is one of the major jihads. Jihad of nafs and jihad of mal. I think if you look at all the verses of Qur'an and all the hadith that talks about jihad, it may be, I can't say it's the greatest. Me personally, I can't say it's the greatest. Like the brother just said, that in many places in the Qur'an, I don't know if it's all places in the Qur'an, but in many places of the Qur'an, Allah mentions the property in money before He mentions your nafs. And some of the scholars of Islam, they look at this in the science of Qur'an, they look at it and they say, well, what was mentioned first? It's, because the Prophet said, نَبْدَأُ بِمَا بَدَأَ اللَّهُ بِهِ. We begin with that which Allah began with.
But when the person of the Quran mentions last for the nafs, talking about jihad and nafs, meaning going and fighting.
That's right. It's not talking about the ruh, you see. So this is why, I don't know if I can say it's the greatest jihad, but definitely it's up in the top list of the list. And Allah knows best. Now.
I was going to ask you, every time jihad is mentioned in the Quran, it's talking about active fighting, right? It's talking about fast fighting, physical fighting, or
well, no, because it's also talking about spending your money.
Right. So it's not meant for jihad every time. Every time jihad is mentioned, it's not actually talking about the actual fighting, actual, blood and sweat.
In almost all the cases that I can think of, and I'm not a hafiz of Quran, in all the cases that I can think of, it's talking about physical fighting when it mentions the jihad of the property and the jihad of the nafs. It's talking about the actual physical fighting. I don't know where we're going to end this, but let's try to get someone who hasn't said anything.
I want to know your opinion about a Muslim who is Muslim by name, who marries a non-Muslim woman, and he can later approaching Islam by calling himself a Muslim by name, and now he's trying to convince his wife to reach in Islam.
But he himself wasn't, he was weak?
He was Muslim just by name, he doesn't practice. And the wife just doesn't approach Islam, just doesn't like it.
Well, I don't have, like I said, I don't have too many opinions. But I would say that may Allah forgive him for not practicing Islam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala still loves the believers even when they're weak. But of course, as the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, المؤمن القوي خير وأحب إلى الله من المؤمن الضعيف وفي كل خير. That Allah, the strong believer is better and more beloved to Allah than the weak believer. Doesn't mean Allah doesn't love the weak believer, but the strong believer is more beloved and better to Allah than the weak believer, and all of them is good. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive any brother or sister who was a weak Muslim, and also this brother, but it's him specifically. That's something that he has to stand up to Allah, for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at night, and ask Allah to forgive him, and ask Allah to change his wife's heart. This is a phenomena that we don't find among the indigenous American Muslims. We find this mostly among the immigrant Muslims. They're marrying non-Muslim women and expecting them to conform to Islam when they themselves, unfortunately, were dating them or whatever. It's a big problem. It's a big problem. And many of the ulama say it's a sin. Many of them say it's a sin to be in a place where there's a lot of Muslim women free, ready to be married, and to marry a non-Muslim woman. And Allah knows best. So as far as that person, what does he do? He should change his life, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive him, change his life, and be the best Muslim that he can, and hope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows that woman's heart to change and accept Islam, and if she doesn't, you can't guide whom you love. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is al-Hadi.
If you don't divorce, you're okay. That's what you're
You mean if she's a Christian or a Jew?
If she's Christian or Jew or whatever.
Well, first of all, quite a few of the brothers have committed a grave mistake, at least, and a sin at most. Quite a few of the brothers who are marrying Christian women, and we talk about live your life like with this, we should be living our lives knowing what Allah and His Messenger has said, alayhi salatu wasalam. It's not permissible for a man to marry a Jew or Christian woman unless she's muhsana. And I know of too many cases where Muslim men have married Christian girls and they weren't muhsana. Muhsana means afifat an al-zina wal-hara'ir. That she is one who doesn't commit adultery or fornication herself. She doesn't believe that adultery and fornication is halal. She believes it is haram. And she's a free woman. How many Christian women are like that Muslims are marrying? If she's not muhsana, he can't marry her. And many of these girls they're marrying have been sleeping with people. That disqualifies them. Now,
You have been citing several points. You have to go to immediately to the Qur'an. You have not underscoring the hadith. And most of us here are there's something that you know is written some kind of opinion. What you have in mind, the evidence of the Quran, and the source that could give us the way of taking
on the authenticity of hadith, of course we rely on al-Bukhari and Muslim. And for those hadith after al-Bukhari and Muslim, like Abu Dawud and Tirmidhi and Ibn Majah and Nasa'i and the Muwatta of Imam Malik and the Muslim of Imam Ahmed and all the other hadith that we probably heard of or maybe not have heard of, we should there are some books that we can refer to that will tell us some of the science of hadith. Science of hadith is probably the most intricate, most detailed, difficult science out of all the sciences in Islam. Probably the most difficult. But there are some, and learning it from English, I'm not going to say it's a waste of time. I don't want to damper anybody's aspirations, but it's almost like a waste of time. To try to study the science of hadith in English is, almost a waste of time. Also, there are other things that we can learn and get a good understanding in English, in Islam. But the science of hadith, no. It's just too detailed. You have to know Arabic. Can't do it in English. As for an outline of a compilation of those hadith that are unauthentic, if anybody wants to write me, or they can write Jamaluddin Zorbozo in Colorado, I can give them some books that are published in English, a list of the hadith in those books that are unauthentic. I can give you a complete list for the first 2 volumes that have been published recently that are unauthentic. But as for the other books that I haven't checked that are in English, or Riyadh al-Salihin, I can give you those. And also, mentioned today before we began, there are 3 hadiths and 40 hadiths from Imam al-Nawawi that are unauthentic. 3. I can tell you those right now. One of them, as we mentioned earlier today, is the hadith that says, you're not a believer until your desires become inclined to that which I brought. That hadith, the chain of it is not authentic. The other hadith that says, Inna Allah yudayyi'u, no, Inna Allah farada fara'id, fala tudayyi'uha. Allah has made some things obligatory, so don't neglect them. Allah has made some things haram, so don't go into them. Allah has been silent about some things, not out of forgetfulness, but out of a mercy for you, so don't probe into them. This hadith is not authentic either. And the third one is one that says something like, a man came to the Prophet and said, direct me to something. Dullani. That hadith is also not authentic.
What's the rest of that? Does that mean something and then say?
I forgot exactly what it says, but I do know that the hadith is not authentic.
We have one last question, and Brother Sajid over here has had his hand up for a little while.
Well, he asked the question already.
Oh, he did?
I think this brother asked the question. No, he didn't.
I didn't ask my question because you said you wanted to talk about the specific topic after we got off.
Yeah, unfortunately. I apologize.
Quick, you were saying about the Christian, is you saying that she has to be a virgin?
I didn't say she had to be a virgin. I said she had to be muhsana. And muhsana means either A, she's a virgin, B, she's been married and she's divorced or widowed, and after she was divorced or widowed, she doesn't commit adultery. Right? She has to be one of those 2 categories. And she also, C, has to believe herself that adultery is haram, that it's forbidden. You see? Because some women believe that it's haram, but they still do it. So she has to not do it and believe that it's not permissible. And also, D, she has to be one of the hara'ir. She has to be a free woman. She can't be a right-hand possessor or a slave. You see? If she's not that, he can't marry her. Those are conditions that the ulama have added to that as sub-categories. She has to dress in a certain way, not necessarily like a Muslim woman, but she has to dress, quote, modestly, unquote. She has to rear the children as Muslims, right? And there's some other conditions that Ibn al-Arabi in Ahkam al-Qur'an, he brings.
My main question was, brother, is that Christians who become Muslims, their family members are not Muslims, they're single, they want to go hard to Umrah. As far as them having someone to go along with them, as a guide,
I can't answer that question. Can a Muslim woman make Hajj without a mahram? All I can do is tell you that the Messenger of Allah said a woman should not travel a day or a night. One hadith says 2 days and 2 nights. Another hadith says 3 days and 3 nights without a mahram. That's all I can tell you. But I'd like to say this in conclusion, and this is a real big can of worms. For all those Muslim women that are not married, and all those Muslim men that are jumping over those nice Muslim women like a kangaroo going to the Jehovah's Witnesses, and the Seventh-day Adventists, and the Catholics, and the Protestants, and the Pentecostals, and the Episcopalians, I'd like to tell you, brothers, that you brothers who do this are causing a great disservice to Islam. You're not only causing a great disservice to Islam as a certified marriage counselor of 11 years, counseling marital couples for 11 years, talking to Muslim women and men about the problems, the societal problems that we have in this thinking Catholic country because of the way we grew up or the way we view Islam or whatever. I've talked to Muslim women who have vowed something that's haram, which is celibacy. Celibacy is different from the Islamic version of not committing zina. Alright? There are Muslim women who I have talked to who are considered and really I don't like to talk about these things in public, but the bottom line is, in conclusion, the Prophet's companion, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Abdullah ibn Abbas, Turjuman al-Qur'an, explainer of the Qur'an. There's an authentic athar, an authentic narration in al-Bukhari, where he said, خِيَارُكُمْ أَكْثَرُكُمْ نِسَاءً. The best of you is the one who has the most wives. The best of you is the one who has the most wives. I think that if we don't consider, and the women don't consider us considering, taking more than one wife, we may stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and as they say on the streets of Newark, New Jersey and Brooklyn, New York, catch a bad one with Allah. We are letting these women run around, not having their physiological, spiritual, mental, emotional needs being fulfilled. Muslim women are going, thinking about lesbianism. Muslim women are committing adultery. Muslim women are going to bars and clubs looking for Christian men. Muslim women are going to churches looking for Muslim men, looking for Christian men. And we're marrying women who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أُولَٰئِكَ يَدْعُونَ إِلَى النَّارِ. They invite you to the hellfire. So I think we should reconsider, but someone may say, well, that's illegal in the United States. So it's khamr. But they legalized it. Khamr is illegal. They legalized it. In some states, prostitution is illegal. You speak out against that. But when our poor Muslims, and I'm using these words, and I'm understanding what I'm saying. I'm saying poor Muslim sisters are waiting 5, 10, 15, 20 years to get married. And like I said, you jump over them, you fly over them like a Scud missile, and go to some Christian woman. Why? Because some of those basic principles of Islam haven't reached our hearts. Haven't reached our hearts. You see? So when they take off the hijab, we talk about it. See? I knew it. Sister Sakina, yeah, she was weak all the time. See? It's not funny. Really. It's not funny. You see? And you know who you are, because I don't practice this. Alhamdulillah, I'll say it on CNN. They've already mentioned my name on CNN anyway, on that Justice Department list. I'll say it on CNN. I am not afraid. I have 2 wives, and I'm getting ready to get married again as soon as I find a suitable. I have no problem saying it publicly. I said it at Temple University in Philadelphia. I said it at Rutgers University in Newark, New Jersey. I said it everywhere I go, and I promote it for those brothers who are able to do it. Take another wife, and if you don't, you may just be questioned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for allowing your sister to suffer. Don't be afraid, brothers, to practice the sunnah. All of the sunnah. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid, brothers, inshallah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you a great reward.
Maybe get rejected, don't go and get 2 marriage certificates found in the same county.
I think people don't understand this.
Well, it doesn't hurt to mention it. You mentioned that we're weak in a lot of areas, so maybe it doesn't.
I don't think anybody's going to get 2 marriage certificates in the same county. But for those of you brothers who are married to Christian women, may Allah guide them to Islam. And may Allah make you a good example in front of your Christian and or Jewish wives. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect you from any of the temptations that shaitan and our nafs whisper to us. وبهذا قدر الكفاية والحمد لله رب العالمين سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. Drew a line and went across like this and said advantages and disadvantages. I guarantee you would come up the advantage side for the women is greater than the men. I'll give you one quick example before we go. One example. And like I said, I'm only encouraging those men who are able to do it. I'm not encouraging Muslim men. One example. If I wanted to get married right now to one of these sisters, I only have one marital status I can choose from. Single. If you wanted to marry one of these Muslim men, you have a wider range to choose from. If all the single brothers are knucklehead Muslims, you can choose from to marry. That already is an advantage. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's an advantage. I don't have that advantage. Alright? I have 2 women, I pay their rent. I buy their food. I buy their clothing. One just I bought a car, the other one I'm about to buy a car. I don't even have a car. Alright? And we're talking about they're not dressed shabby, they're not tattered clothes. Alhamdulillah, they're not. No, it's not a business arrangement, because I'm responsible to Allah for how I treat them. Because the Prophet ﷺ said, if I'm unjust or unfair to one of them, towards the other, then I come with my side dragging on the day of resurrection. Because I fear Allah. I'm not doing this for physiological or sexual reasons. No, listen. Because if I was, I would just commit adultery. May Allah forbid. I don't have to get married to have sex. What? I have to take care of it. No. Listen. I don't have to be married to be sexually fulfilled. I don't. I can just be a sinner. Don't marry anyone and just go out and sleep with anybody. If I wanted that. And it's not age I'm afraid of, it's Allah that I'm afraid of. It's not syphilis that I'm afraid of, it's Allah that I'm afraid of. You see? So when we talk about the benefits, of course, to the woman, she's a woman. I'm a man. She's going to see. No, wait a minute. This is chauvinistic. This is chauvinistic. This is because we don't know who Allah is. We go back to the point again. We don't know who set this up. Human beings didn't set this up. It's Allah who set this up. You see? You didn't ask me how old they were. I have a friend who's 25 years old, lives in Philadelphia. He's studying in Yemen now. He's 25 years old. He's been married for 6 years. His wife is 64 years old. 64 years old. For 6 years he's been married to her. She wants him to take another wife. Not him. She wants him to take another wife. Is there something wrong with that? Yeah, there's always prostitution. But it's not just the physical part about it. It's not. The physical part is a minor part. You're talking about, listen, I come from a place where rent for a 2-bedroom apartment is $850. $850. You understand? Do you think that sex is that great? When I can get rid of all of them, have a nice place for $450 and be an adulterer, usually. And be a Muslim. I can commit adultery as a Muslim. I can commit adultery. But that's not the important thing. The important thing is, who is our Creator? Who is our Lord? Regardless if we don't understand these concepts, jihad, polygyny, slavery, while the women dress the way they dress, not eating pork, we may not understand these things. But the bottom line is, who is our Creator and what is our duty to Him? Polygyny is not a major issue in Islam. I only mentioned that lastly because we have a serious problem. We have a serious problem, especially in a country where every male baby that's born among the white Caucasian people, 7 female white babies are being born, statistically. And among the black people, 9. For every male black boy, there's 9 female black girls. What are those women going to do if everybody got married? If all the men got married in the United States right now, according to our math, how many women are going to be left? And what are they going to do now? They're either going to be lesbian, either going to commit adultery with your husband anyway, alright? They're going to be celibate and not be able to fulfill their needs, or they're going to do what? There's a solution. Marry, not suicide. Then they have ultimate, eternal damnation. They marry a respectful, kind, trustworthy, hopefully romantic Muslim man. And they are fulfilled. One who takes care of them. One who takes care of their needs. This is not something to be, we don't want to make a long, elaborate new lecture about this. And once again, I don't want to offend you in any way, because this is irrelevant. The most important thing is to know who the Creator is, to know who your Lord is, to know that He created you and me to worship Him. Because that's the most important thing. He's not going to ask you about your husband or me having more than one wife. He's not going to ask you that. He's not going to ask you about anything except, why didn't you worship me? Why didn't you worship me the way I prescribed and sent down from heaven onto the heart and tongue of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? This is what we're going to be asked. Forget about the polygyny. I'm sorry I even brought it up. Really, I'm sorry now. He goes, usually I try to look around, like I said, I try to see if any non-Muslims, I try not to say these things. Well, we have some problems. And you're married to a Muslim man, you may have a glimpse, not from your husband, but because you probably have some privy to Islamic circles. But the bottom line, once again, is that we should really, really reconsider our lives in this world. I'm a former Pentecostal minister. I know what Christian ministers, many of them do. I'm telling you from experience. I'm a former Pentecostal holiness minister. And I'm telling you what they do. I'm telling you what some Roman Catholic priests do. I'm telling you, I know for a fact, from seminary and from their daily dealings with the women. And it's illegal. But here, when I brought my new wife to my mother and father, and I told my mother and father, Mom, you have a cousin who's a lesbian. You let your cousin, my second cousin, her first cousin, come to the house with her lesbian friend and sleep in my old room where I used to sleep in before I moved out. You let them sleep together. You're a Christian. You let them sleep together. Come from Indiana and sleep together. Daddy, your brother's a homosexual. And you let him come to the house and sleep in your house. And the Bible tells you it speaks against this. Nations were destroyed for this. Now here is my wife sitting in front of you, my legal wife. I'm feeding her, clothing her, taking care of her, not committing adultery, and you won't accept her? No. Wallahi, I told them, Wallahi, I love you. I love you immensely. But if you don't accept her as a wife, I'll never come back to your house again. And I understand the duty of a Muslim towards his family. But I told them, Wallahi, I swear by Allah, if you don't accept this one the way you accept the other one, I'll never come to your house again. And I meant it. I'm not committing adultery. I'm not using drugs. I'm not a homo. I'm a Muslim trying to live my life, trying to help Muslim women, trying to help the Muslim society, trying to help the non-Muslim society come to Islam. You see? But we get bent out of shape because Allah allows a man to do that, but we don't get bent out of shape with the gambling casinos and the prostitution and people molesting children. We don't get bent out of shape with that, but our nafs whispers to us, he's with some other woman. Later for that. What about your relationship with Allah? What about my relationship with Allah? It's not easy. It's not easy. Of course it's not easy. Of course it's not easy. But that we shouldn't focus on that. We should focus on our duty.
Only help.
That's not the issue. The issue is, what is our duty to our Lord? Do we ascribe partners to our Lord? Do we say he has a son? Do we say he has a mother? Is that worse than having more than one wife? Of course it is. Of course it is. Child molestation, robbing banks, selling crack is not as bad as saying God has a son. No, it's not that bad. That's the most blasphemous thing a person can do. But we overlook that and we say, oh, he has 3 wives. But a person is saying the creator of the heavens and the earth came from the womb of a woman, and we don't have any problem with that, but we have a problem with a man taking another wife. The one who created the woman came out of her womb, and we have a problem with the one man having 2 wives. I tell you, once again, it's the cart before the horse. It really is. We have the nerve, the audacity to bring the creator of the heavens and the earth down from his high, sublime, magnificent position and say that he came from the womb of a woman? This is blasphemous. And we overlook it. We overlook it. They're decent people, they're moral people. Alhamdulillah, okay, they're decent and moral. But what's worse than lying on Allah? There's nothing worse than lying on Allah. Nothing. So we should be very careful, and we should make our priorities not from our desires, but we should make our priorities from that which Allah has revealed. And that which Allah has revealed is a balm and a salve and a soothing for all the hearts who have pain from what they understand or what they misunderstand. It is a healing for anyone who opens their heart and allows the deen of Islam to come into their heart, whether they understand or not. Do you think all these Muslims here understand everything that the Qur'an says? You think we understand everything? I don't know why I pray 5 times a day. Why is it not 6? Why isn't it 8? I don't know why I go around the Kaaba and the Kaaba has to be on my left side and then my right side has to be 7 times instead of 6. I don't know why. I do it because Allah said do it. And I don't know why we don't eat pork. Scientifically it's this. No. You don't really know why Allah said don't eat pork. You don't know. You don't know. We just don't do it. You see? I don't know why we clean ourselves 3 times after relieving ourselves. Why isn't it 5? And we know it can't be under 3. Why? I don't know. I don't care. He said it. The Lord of the world said it. That's enough for me. Now, if it looks biased, if it looks prejudiced, if it looks unequal or unjust, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give us, will clear up all our differences on the day of resurrection. But I don't want to gamble my soul using some false notion that Allah is unfair. I'm never going to say Allah is unfair. Man, yes. But I'm never going to say Allah is unfair. Whatever He reveals in that Qur'an, وَلَا يَظْلِمُ رَبُّكَ أَحَدًا, your Lord is never unjust. I know that. That I do know. That I do know. So once again, may Allah guide you and all of us to Islam and soften my heart and your heart and all of our hearts to accept that which Allah has revealed on His Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And once again, I apologize with the most extreme of apology. If I've offended you in any way, excuse my loud voice. I have a big stentorian voice. I'm sorry for raising my voice. But in actuality, I actually love you as my sister in humanity. Like I said when you were sitting here, you heard me say with your own ears that I don't want Clinton, I don't want anybody to go to the hellfire. Nobody. I want everyone to accept Islam. I want everyone to be a Muslim so they can have the sweetness of the next life. So inshallah, may Allah guide all of us. Amen. And please accept my apology.
We'll be praying outside in the lobby. And then afterwards we have
that one of the brothers said that I apologize too much. Or I apologized too much. And I'd just like to say, I reminded the brother that the Prophet ﷺ said in an authentic hadith, لا تتكلمن بكلام تعتذر به عند الناس. Don't say things, don't speak words that eventually you're going to have to apologize to the people for. And that's the reason why I was apologetic with the young lady. Once again, I sincerely ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide her to Islam, because this is a test on her, as it is a test on her husband, as a test on us as Muslims. We ask Allah to guide her and all of us. Ameen. Secondly, I'd like to say that life is very, very short, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made the human being the crown of creation. He's made the human being the best of His creation. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, وَلَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ. He created the human being in the best of molds. The best of molds. So we should be thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He gave us intellect, that He gave us sight, that He gave us hearing. He gave us the ability to ascertain that which is to distinguish between right and wrong. And He sent us prophets and messengers, alayhimus salatu wassalam, to guide us with revelation, to guide us to that which was not specifically made clear to us, which is wrong. And we should remember that in our attempts to give this da'wah, and we all fall short, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to reward us with a sincere intention in fulfilling the conditions of giving the da'wah. He's going to reward us immensely. As we mentioned last night, the job of inviting people to La ilaha illallah is the job of the al-anbiya wal-rusul, the prophets and the messengers. We're actually tackling their job when we do this. So let us not despair and become frustrated in our attempt to invite the people to Islam. We should use everything that we have to invite them to Islam. We should try once again to be as kind as we can, as respectful as we can. Once again, like the brother said, maybe I do apologize too much, but it may seem like because I have this strong kind of resonant, deep voice that I'm becoming angry and I'm intimidating people. But in actuality, I'm a real softy kind of guy, and I'm not a harsh person, and I don't want to give you a bad impression. The third thing I wanted to say was, I said it to the brothers that I kind of regret now that I mentioned about the more than one wife thing. And some of the brothers said, no. You know how men are. No, that was good. Yeah. But then again, I actually violated one of my principles to not talk about these things in public, especially when I feel that there's non-Muslims present. But I just, for me, once again, being a marriage counselor for all these years and seeing what Muslim women go through, you may not be going through that here, the sisters here. But on the East Coast, there's a big problem. On the East Coast, there's a real big problem. And this is the reason why I mentioned it about the more than one wife. And I pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't make the brothers get gung-ho and go out and try to marry everything they see now, everything that moves. Once again, as I said, I preface my statement with, it's not for everybody. I only encourage the brothers to do this. I only encourage the brothers who have the ability to do this. As for the students, some final comments to the students is that what we said in the beginning, try your best to learn as much as you can about Islam. Try to learn as much as you can about this deen. And when you go into those classrooms and you sit in front of those non-Muslim professors, whoever they may be, whatever persuasion they may be, whatever creed they may have, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for His tawfiq, His sadat, His success, the victory from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His success, and His goodness and His well-being, and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, oh Allah, keep my heart firm in your deen and your obedience. Because if we don't, I'm telling you, even though I'm not a college graduate, and I've never been to a college except for the College of Sharia in Medina, which is unlike any other college I've ever seen in my life, which is another lecture, being in Medina at the university. I'm well aware of what goes on in these college campuses, and what goes on within the confines of these classrooms. We're not against learning this knowledge. We're not against this. I'm just afraid for the youth. That's the only reason why I was so zealous in saying what I was saying. I'm just afraid because we're losing too many youth. And like I said, maybe you don't have this problem here, but on the East Coast, we have a serious problem, especially among the Muslim women, the girls. The pregnancy rate from zina is extremely high among Muslim girls. On the East Coast, I don't know about here, but on the East Coast, we have a real big problem of Muslim girls being impregnated by non-Muslim boys. Big problem. And there's solutions for it. So that's the only reason why I mentioned about going to these schools, parents sending their children way across the United States without a mahram, it just saddens me. That's the only reason why I was saying what I was saying. And also, we should try to respect our parents as much as we can, to obey the parents as much as we can. They love you, and they want the best for you. Sometimes they make mistakes, or they're dealing with what they did back in the old country. We did it this way, we did it that way, my mother didn't do this, my father did that. Just try to be patient with them, and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to soften their hearts towards some of the things, to be an objective with you, and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow them to view you as a person who is going to have to stand in front of Allah by themselves. If you could ask Allah this, inshallah, Allah is musarrif, and He is muqallib of the heart. He's the one who makes the heart fluctuate, go back and forth as He pleases. And we should ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to do this with our parents' hearts, who give us a hard time when we want to go to study Islam and they want us to be a pharmacist. I know some of you, I've talked to some of you here in other places, you say, some of you tell me behind closed doors after lectures, you say, Brother Dawud, what do I do? My father wants me to be a chemical engineer and I want to be a faqih. I want to be a mufassir. I want to be a hafiz of Qur'an. I want to be this or that. And the only thing I can tell you is just to keep making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to soften your parents' heart and to make them lean towards knowing that just because you make more money being a chemical engineer or a nuclear physicist, and you don't make money being a scholar of hadith or fiqh, it doesn't mean that you don't have any work. And we have Muslim doctors, as I told the brothers last night. I mean, I don't know, maybe it's not true, but I think that we have probably more doctors as a religious group than any other group in the United States. Probably. I don't know. Would anybody agree with that? And probably more engineers than any other religious group. I mean, we have doctors among the Muslims just tripping over each other, and engineers tripping over each other. But how many Muslims, as I mentioned last night, how many Muslims have memorized the Qur'an? American Muslims. Now, once again, I'm speaking from the East Coast. I've been a few places. I can name 5 American Muslims that have memorized the Qur'an. Only 5. That's a shame. 5 in the whole country. How many of you Muslims right now, from the raise of the hand, know an American-born Muslim who's a Hafiz or Hafizah? How many? Raise your hand. American-born Muslim. How many of you know? Anwar. That's one of the ones I know. One. What's her name? Yasser? 13. So that's true. How many of you know?
Well, they already mentioned one of them.
Uh-huh.
This year, we have, didn't have the meet in Arlington. We have,
Arlington, Texas?
yeah,
So that's 3.
and have 4 over in New Orleans.
4 others? Or 4th person?
There's school over there. That's why there's 4 others.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. But still, this is, as I mentioned last night, this is
The ones that I mentioned here also came from the school. That's where they became Hafiz over in, from New Orleans.
now, huh? They're not American?
American?
They're American born. No, whether they're Pakistani, Egyptian, doesn't make any difference. They're American. American. Now I only know 5 throughout the whole country. And Buffalo, that's right. Buffalo, New York. Yeah, right up above Buffalo. So the point I'm trying to make is that these things that you're learning in college and the universities are very, very important. But don't forget about those other things. We have to produce some women who are scholars of fiqh amongst us. We have to do it. We have to produce some women who memorize the Qur'an. We have to produce some women who are scholars of tafsir. I mean scholars. I'm not talking about, I'm talking about a real scholar.
What is the definition of that?
The definition of a scholar?
Last night you were talking about, I wasn't very clear, You said that you're only a scholar if others call you a scholar.
If the scholars call you a scholar, you're a scholar. But of course, the scholar is the one who has a thorough knowledge of the Arabic language. And when we talk about the Arabic language, we're not just talking about grammar. We're talking about sarf, morphology. We're talking about adib, literature. We're talking about shi'r, poetry. We're talking about balagha, eloquent rhetoric, as some translate it. We're talking about having a knowledge of fiqh. We're talking about having those detailed knowledge of am and khas, general and specific, mutlaq and muqayyid. We're talking about having the knowledge of asbab al-nuzul. We're talking about having the knowledge of when the cause of the revelation. We're talking about nasikh wal mansukh, abrogating and abrogated verses. It's a lot involved, people to become a scholar. But we need them. Whatever it is, we need them among the Americans. And we don't have them. We don't have them. Among American Muslims, I don't know. I don't know of any Muslims that I consider, from what I understand a scholar to be, I don't know of any American Muslims, graduates from Islamic universities or non-graduates, that are considered a scholar. I know some scholarly brothers. I know some brothers who are on the road of scholarship. They're walking down the road of scholarship. One brother came to me one time. He said, "Brother Dawud, you don't consider yourself a scholar? Why are these people always calling you out? Because people call my house like 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, asking me questions. Really, and I called them back. My telephone bill at one house was $1,800 for 2 months. $1,800 for 2 months. I'm calling people, doing research, asking questions. The brother said, if you don't consider yourself a scholar, then why are you always asking me questions? And why are you always doing these classes and lectures? And you know what I told him? I told him, the one-eyed man is king in the land of the blind. You see, because the Muslims are in such bad shape, they think I'm a scholar. I have a little bit more knowledge than them. You can't see it from that far back. You have to get right close. I have a little bit more knowledge than them, so they think I'm a scholar. So in actuality, in that sense, if you know more than the next person, you're a scholar. But that's because you have one eye and they're totally blind. All right? And I'm not saying the Muslims are not in a condescending way. But what I'm saying is that it just goes to show you how bad of a shape we're in, because Muslims see Dawud Adib as a scholar. I mean, I'm nowhere near a scholar. So we need to really, the parents need to really reevaluate the position of our children in this country. Somebody has to be pulled out of that large group of college students or potential college students and sent to some place in America or Syria or Jordan or Pakistan or India or Bangladesh or Saudi Arabia or someplace to learn this deen in America or otherwise, and learn it well so that we can establish something to assist our situation, and we're not focusing on it. And it just saddens me. It saddens me. I remember I was telling the brothers, at this MENA conference, after the conference was about to close in ISNA, a young Egyptian sister came to me. She was about 18 years old. And she was literally, her glasses were fogged up. She was crying. She said, Brother Dawud, my parents want me to go to school and be an engineer, and I don't want to be an engineer. My father's an engineer. My brother's an engineer. I have 2 uncles that are engineers. She says, I want to study Islam and be a scholar of Islam. And she was actually, she was almost like she was ready to put her head on my shoulder. She was crying so badly. She said, I keep telling them, I don't want to study this stuff. I have a nice high school education. I'm not stupid, she said. I want to become a scholar. And her parents wouldn't, no, you can't make money being a scholar of fiqh. You can't make money being a scholar of hadith or tafsir. You go to school, you get a good education, and make some money. So I think we need to, the parents need to reevaluate some of the aspirations and the yearning of some of the children that they have, and try to assist them. And because, let's just face it. What do you think we would be right now if Imam Abu Hanifa, radiallahu anhu's mother and father didn't push him to do what he did? Think about that. Where would we be right now if Imam al-Nawawi's mother or father didn't push him to do that? Where would we be right now if 4 of the teachers of Ibn Taymiyyah who were women, 4 of his teachers were women? Where do you think we would be right now if the mothers and fathers of those 4 women didn't push them so that we can have Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah? So, we need to really, once again, I don't want to beat a dead horse, to evaluate the situation. And this was something that they used to do in pre-Islamic times. Before the Qur'an was revealed, they used to take their children and send them out into the desert with the Bedouins to learn some things. You see? And this is what the Sahaba used to do, the women among the Sahaba used to do with their sons. They used to send them to be servants or work in the house of the Prophet ﷺ. So they can be in the house of revelation, so they can learn. We don't care if he sweeps the floor, we don't care if he washes dishes, we don't care if he milks cows, we don't care what he does. Just let him stay in the Rasulullah's house, so he can learn in the house of revelation. And we need to be more concerned with this, really. We really need to be more concerned with this. So those of you who are students, try to take out some time. You take time out to go to the bathroom. You take time out to look at television. You take time to listen to the radio. You take time to play basketball. take a half hour, 15 minutes a week, a half hour a week, 45 minutes a week, an hour a week, to just sit down and memorize Qur'an. Or to sit down and learn something of His deen. So that inshallah, Allah will give you a greater reward on the day of resurrection. So with that, inshallah, I don't know if I don't want to have an overkill.
Brother Dawud has to leave at 4 o'clock because he had a flight at 5. So we have maybe an hour. If you want to ask questions, go ahead. And I also want to make an announcement, like I guess everybody knows. Tomorrow we have Muslim welcome dinner at the ballroom at 7:30 p.m. Those who are in the MSA, come by at 7 o'clock and need your help setting up the
Usually, I don't want to be imposing, but usually when I go speak somewhere, I usually try to give the sisters some time by themselves. If they want me to sit with them for a little while before we go, if it's up to them, you know, you can have the Amira among them take shura, and they can we can sit and talk, inshallah, without the brothers, and with the hijab, of course. And if not, then we can go.